My name is Jenna Ford, and this isn't the story I thought I'd be telling. It starts with a piece of paper, a printed check, $2.5 million staring back at me like a dare. I didn't scream. I didn't jump up and down. I just sat there, holding it, not really breathing. I'd bought that lottery ticket on a whim, half a joke, half a prayer. Something I did when I had just enough left over from groceries and gas. I never expected it to work. People like me don't win, but I did, and the very first person I thought of was my sister, Tessa. She raised me in her own broken way. After our mom left and our dad fell into a bottle, it was Tessa who made sure I got to school, who split her lunch with me, who held my hand when the power got cut and I cried in the dark. We survived each other. So when I won, when I sat there, trembling on the edge of something new, I didn't call a friend. I didn't call a lawyer. I walked into the living room, into her living room, holding that check like it might disappear if I blinked. She was folding laundry. Her kids were yelling in the background, cartoons buzzing on the TV. I said her name, and when she looked up, I smiled and told her, I won the lottery. She froze. The socks in her hand slid to the floor. Then she laughed short, sharp, like a cough. Shut up, she said. No, you didn't. I did. I showed her the check. She stared at it, and I remember thinking, this is the moment everything changes. We're gonna be okay, but I didn't know then that the thing I believed would save us would be the match that burned everything down. I always thought betrayal would feel sharp like a knife in the back, quick and clean, but it doesn't. It creeps in slow, like a crack in glass. You don't notice at first, not until the whole thing splinters. Tessa stared at the check for a long time, like she was trying to read a different number. Her mouth twitched, her eyes narrowed, not in disbelief, in calculation. You're serious, she said finally. You actually won. I nodded. My hands were still shaking. It's real. I already signed the claim paperwork. They gave me the check this morning. She blinked. How much? I told her. The number felt foreign coming out of my mouth, like it belonged to someone else. $2.5 million. Silence. Then, so, what now? You gonna buy a yacht or some dumb shit? I laughed nervously. No, I actually want to use most of it to start something. A shelter for single moms, women trying to get back on their feet. She snorted. Not a sound of joy. Something uglier. You're kidding. I shook my head. No, I'm serious. I've been thinking about it for a long time. I've already talked to a nonprofit lawyer just to see if it's even possible. Tessa crossed her arms. What about me? I blinked. What about you? You owe me, Jenna. You lived in my house. I fed you. I kept a roof over your head when you had nowhere else. Her voice was rising, sharp and fast like a fuse. I was sleeping on a broken couch, I said quietly. No heat. I watched your kids every weekend. That was your choice. No, Tessa, it wasn't. She took a step toward me. You owe me half. And just like that, I felt it. The crack. Right down the center of everything I thought we were. I didn't yell. That surprises people when I tell them. They expect drama. A screaming match. A shove. But no, I stood there, quiet, almost calm. Maybe because I still couldn't believe it was happening. Maybe because I didn't want to believe she meant it. Tessa, I said, soft like a warning, this isn't about you owing or me paying. It's not about debts. I want to do something good with it. For women like us who didn't have anyone. Her face twisted. Don't get all holy on me now. You think you're better than me? No, I said honestly. I think we're both tired. And I think I have a chance to help women who are drowning. You're not helping anyone if you don't help me first. She stepped forward. I backed up. And that's when she did it. She grabbed the check from the table. Fast. Before I could react, Tessa, don't, but she was already walking to the kitchen. I followed, pulse spiking, voice caught somewhere between pleading and panic. She opened the junk drawer, pulled out a matchbook, lit one. I lunged. Stop, too late. The flame met paper, And the check curled like it was flinching. Black edges. Crumbling white. No, 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 no. I reached for it, but it was already falling like autumn leaves into the sink. I stared at her, and she just stood there, arms crossed, smirking. Let's see what your lawyer says now, she said. My mouth wouldn't work. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. She thought she'd won, thought she'd taught me a lesson about power, about who's in control, but what she didn't know was that I'd already deposited the real check, already transferred the funds, already hired the attorney, already started building the life she thought she could burn down. All she destroyed was a copy, but something else burned with it. My last illusion about who she really was. She thought she'd undone me. That was the part that stuck in my mind later, not the fire, not the smell of burnt paper in the sink, not even her smirk. It was the quiet satisfaction on her face, like she'd just set the world back in order, like she'd put me back in my place, but that world, it was already gone. The truth is, I never planned to wave that check around. I'd only printed the copy because part of me needed it to feel real, to hold something just once, before it disappeared into accounts and documents and paperwork. The real check had gone to my lawyer that morning. The money was already transferred, the trust already set up, every piece was already in motion, silent, steady, safe. I didn't tell her that. I could have. God knows the words were right there. I could have dropped them like a match of my own and watched her face catch flame, but I didn't. I just stared at the ashes in the sink and whispered, "Okay." She looked confused. She wanted a fight, wanted me to scream, cry, beg. But I didn't give her that. I walked out, past the crumpled laundry, past the cartoons still buzzing, past the front door I'd walked through so many times with hope in my chest, and outside in the freezing air, I finally let myself breathe. I didn't know then what would come next. I didn't know she'd try to come for more, that she'd twist the story, play the victim, act like I'd robbed her, but I knew this. She thought she'd burned my future, but all she'd done was burn the decoy, because I'd already learned that real power doesn't need to shout. It doesn't flash or flinch or fight. It moves quietly, like ink on contracts, like keys and locks, like me, finally walking away. You don't build a dream in one night, you build it in pieces, little ones, quiet ones, moments no one sees. Like Googling how to start a nonprofit at M while curled up on a borrowed couch, or emailing lawyers you can't afford yet, hoping one will take you seriously. I started there, before the win, before the check, when all I had was this ache in my chest and a sketch in a notebook. Safe haven shelter for single moms. It wasn't about charity, it was about survival. I'd seen too many women get swallowed by circumstance, bad men, bad jobs, bad luck. No one reached for them, so I wanted to build the hand I never had. A roof, a room, a restart. Back then, the dream felt laughable. I had no money, no degree, no real connections, just this stubborn belief that I could be more than what I'd been handed. I kept that dream in a folder on my phone, hidden between grocery lists and job applications. Then I won, and everything changed. The first thing I did wasn't celebrate. It wasn't buy a car or a house or even new shoes. It was call a lawyer, a woman named Maria recommended by a friend of a friend. She didn't flinch at my story. She didn't laugh at the shelter idea. She just said, "We'll build it right." Step by step, we opened a trust, drafted incorporation papers, filed for 501c3 status, bought the domain name, hired an architect, found a contractor who didn't talk down to me. No headlines, no press, just action. I remember standing in front of the first property run down but full of potential and whispering, "This is it." Not just a house, a foundation, a future, something no one could set on fire, not with a match, not with a lie, not even with blood. Tessa thought she'd stopped me, but she never saw how deep I'd already started to dig. I never thought I'd be the one sending legal papers to my own sister, But there's a point where silence stops being survival and starts being surrender. That point came 3 days after she burned the check. Tessa was smug, walking around the house like a queen who'd won the war. She even joked about it on the phone with one of her friends loud enough for me to hear from the back bedroom. She cried like a baby. Stupid girl thought money made her strong. I didn't cry. I packed. I moved into a cheap sublet across town, the kind with peeling linoleum and a leaky sink, but it had a lock on the door, and no one mocking me across the dinner table. Maria, my lawyer, asked me straight up, "Do you want to press charges?" I hesitated, not because I doubted the rightness of it, but because I knew what it would mean. Family would pick sides. Tessa would spin the story. I'd be the villain, the ungrateful sister, the liar, the user, the woman who got lucky and left everyone behind. But I'd learned something since the flames. Love without respect is just a leash. So I said yes. She filed the paperwork. Theft, destruction of property, emotional damages. And within a week, a server knocked on Tessa's door. She called me 5 times that day. I didn't answer. The text started off venomous, then turned desperate. "You're ruining this family. I didn't do anything wrong. We can fix this, Jenna. But some things you don't fix." Some things were never whole to begin with. The next morning, I walked into the bank to finalize the transfer for the property, and as I signed the last form, I looked down at the pen in my hand and felt it. Power, not the kind you shout about, the kind you earn, and I realized something. Paper cuts hurt more when they come from people you love, but this time, I wasn't the one bleeding. The first time I saw my name on the glass, I cried, not loud, not messy, just a slow, silent ache behind my eyes. The kind of tears that sneak up on you, not from sadness, but from remembering every version of yourself. Who never thought you'd get here? Jenna Ford, founder. It was etched in white on the front door of the shelter's office. Clean, simple, permanent. I reached out and touched it, not to show anyone, not for a picture, just to feel it, to believe it. A woman walked by pushing a stroller. She glanced up at the sign, then at me. "You run this place?" she asked. I nodded. She smiled. "Good. We need more places like this." She didn't know the full story. She didn't know about the ashes in the sink or the broken couch or the sister who lit a match and walked away smiling. And I didn't tell her, because this place, this office, this dream wasn't built on bitterness. It was built on every moment I almost gave up. Every weekend I washed Tessa's kids while she slept off another night. Every whisper of someday I muttered to myself when no one believed in me. Inside, the space still smelled like fresh paint. The furniture hadn't arrived yet. The walls were bare, but it was real, and it was mine. Maria handed me a folder of final documents. "All done," she said. "You're officially open." I nodded, but I couldn't speak. Not right away, because behind her, the sunlight hit the glass just right and I saw it again. Founder. I never wanted a title. I just wanted to help. But now that I had one, I wore it like armor, because when Tessa came storming through those doors the next day full of fury, ready to tear me down again, she stopped cold when she saw it. Saw me, not her little sister, not the burden, not the backup babysitter, the woman who built something from what she tried to burn. She didn't knock. Of course she didn't. Tessa barged in like the walls still belonged to her, like the years hadn't passed, like the air didn't already taste different with freedom and paint and purpose. Her voice hit first, sharp, piercing. "Where the hell do you get off?" I stood from behind the desk, the one I'd picked out myself, secondhand but solid, already covered in intake forms and housing applications. "Real work, real lives, Tessa," I said calmly. "You're not supposed to be here." She scoffed. "Don't act like you're better than me." "I'm not," I said. "I'm just not scared of you anymore." That made her flinch. She tried to hide it behind anger, but I saw the twitch in her jaw, the flicker in her eyes. She glanced around, taking in the space, the clean walls, the file cabinets, the framed mission statement, my name on the door. You think this makes you someone? She snapped. You think you're some kind of saint now? No, I said. I think I'm finally someone I can live with. She didn't know what to do with that. So she did what she always did. Lash out, deflect, blame. You ruined this family. You turned on your own blood. For what? A building full of strangers. I looked around the room. One of the volunteers had poked her head out of the hallway, ready to intervene if needed. Another staffer stood quietly near the door, arms crossed, present but not panicked. I turned towards something. Better, I said. That's not betrayal. That's survival. Her voice cracked then. Just for a second. You could have given me something. I did, I said, soft but firm. I gave you years. I gave you help. I gave you trust. You burned all of it. She didn't respond, just stood there, rage hollowing out into something heavier, something quieter, and for the first time, I saw her not as the villain, but as someone too broken to see the fire wasn't outside her. It was inside her all along. It's strange, the things you remember, not the big moments, but the tiny ones. A chipped mug, a damp towel that never dried, the way Tessa used to hum while cooking box mac and cheese. Some days I miss her. And I hate that I do, because even after everything, the yelling, the betrayal, the match, she was still my sister. Not a good one, not a safe one, but mine, in the way shared history knots people together, even when it chokes. But family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's survival. It's the young mom who came in last week with a toddler on her hip and a black eye she didn't explain. It's the volunteer who brings extra diapers every Thursday without being asked. It's Maria, still checking in on me like she's part lawyer, part mother figure. These women, we don't owe each other. We show up anyway. I built a wall in the front hall, not for decoration, for names. No plaques, no gold, just first names, written in black marker on white bricks, women who came through the fire and didn't let it end them. We call it the resilience wall. My name's on it too, not at the top, just mixed in with the rest. Because I'm not the hero here, I'm just another woman who made it out. One of the staff asked me once, what would you do if she came back again? If she apologized? I thought about it. Still do sometimes, maybe. I'd listen. Maybe I wouldn't, but I wouldn't let her in, not to my shelter, not to my heart, because scars don't mean weakness, they mean I survived. They mean I grew something solid where it used to hurt. Steel doesn't shine without fire, and I'm shining now, not for revenge, not for validation, but because I finally understand. You can't save someone who wants to watch you burn. It's framed. In my office, the burnt check or what's left of it, charred edges, curling corners, just enough ink left to make out the numbers. People ask why I kept it, why I'd want to look at that reminder every day, but it's not a reminder of loss. It's proof of what didn't break me, because the win wasn't the money. It never really was. The real win was waking up and not feeling afraid anymore, not shrinking, not second-guessing, not waiting for permission to believe in myself. Tessa's silence has lasted months now. No calls, no more threats, just distance, and maybe that's the most peace we'll ever have between us. I don't hate her. I don't love her the way I used to either. I think that's what healing is, sometimes accepting the fracture without needing to keep touching the wound. The shelter is growing. We're full most nights. Word travels fast when a place actually listens, actually helps. No lectures, no pity, just beds, food, dignity. One mom left a note on the kitchen counter the other day. It said, "You saved my life. I don't even know your name, but I'll never forget your kindness." I folded it and tucked it in my drawer, next to my nameplate, next to the first intake form ever signed, next to a photo of the building before the paint and furniture and hope, because I want to remember where it started. I want to remember that I wasn't chosen for this. I chose it. That check could have bought silence, comfort, a life far away from where I started, but I stayed, built roots, offered shelter, and I sleep soundly now, not because I won the lottery, but because I Found the strength to stop apologizing for surviving. I built something no one can burn, and that's the real fortune.